Welcome to Syd and Malcolm. This is Malcolm Berman with my co-host Syd Mandelbaum and our special guest. Introduce your special guest.
My special guest is even more than special. Neshama Carlebach is a friend of mine for over 20 years. I will briefly say how we met. I was at a Shabbos dinner in the city. We have a very eclectic family, Malcolm. One of my sons was a singer in the children's chorus of the New York Metropolitan Opera. And when he was 8, and he sang till he was 14. And when he sang on a weekend, like on a Saturday, he would always be in 2 operas. One would go from 1 to 4, and then the other one would be he'd have to be there by 5:30 or 6 till he finished singing. And I needed a place for him to rest. And one of my good friends, Rabbi Joseph Fishoff, his mother lived across the street from the Metropolitan Opera. And she allowed us to show me Shabbos, so we would have the elevator stop on every floor. I think she was on the 18th floor. And she would let him sleep there for a couple of hours. And we would feed him there. And then he'd go across the street and would again sing in the second opera. Sadly, after 2 years, she passed away. And one of her other sons, David Fishoff, had an apartment on 74th and Broadway, maybe 5-6 blocks from the opera. And he allowed me to sleep Ryan there in the afternoons. And my son was in 190 operas over that time. And I can't even begin to tell you, it was a lot of work on Diane and I because we had a younger son. But Ryan had to go in for lessons 3 days a week. And from July through October, he was there 7 days a week because he had rehearsals.
Right.
And the rehearsals were after school. So I would pick him up at 2:30 from school, get him there by 4, and stay with him until 7. And
You're a good father. You're a great father. I mean, I knew that anyway, but this is
something, you know what? Very few people are born as he was, and he was selected by the opera by accident. A friend of mine was a baritone at the Met, and we met him at a friend's house. And he said, they're looking for children to fill the kids that are graduating. And I heard you have 2 sons. I said, oh, yeah. And he said, you want to give them auditions? I said, no one in our family sings. He says, well, why don't you give it a shot? So I brought down Ryan and Dylan, who at the time were 7.5 and 8.5. And Dylan was so excited. Oh my God, I'm going to be singing in the opera. And Ryan, it was Nishkafela. He really didn't care that much. Of course, what happens, man plans, God laughs. She does the audition with Dylan, does the audition with Ryan. She runs out, said, Syd, Ryan has perfect pitch. And if you don't have that and catch it at a young age, they lose it. And Dylan Nebuch was devastated because he wasn't selected. I don't think I could go into the west side of Manhattan for many years. But so Ryan joined the opera and they cultivated his voice. And David Fishoff was such a great guy, brother of Joe Fishoff, and also in the music business, Malcolm. David Fishoff at one time was the manager of Ringo Starr.
Wow.
And he also managed the Ringo Starr All-Star Band for many, many years. Now he has something in LA called Rock Camp, which is very big. And rock stars are counselors and people go. I am going to give him a plug. It's a great program. People pay thousands of dollars to play with rock stars. And you could sign up at rockcamp.com, David Fishoff. So Neshama, friend of David, was over at the house and she heard, what do you do? What do you do? I had heard of her father, who was one of the powerhouses, not just as a rabbi, but as one of the singers of the most amazing songs that he created that became part of the liturgy of tens of thousands of congregations worldwide. And Neshama said that she was singing and She said, what do you do? I said, I feed people. And, pretty much from then on, she loved what I did. I loved what she did. And life went on from there. So let me introduce the talented, beautiful, and great mother, and even better wife, Neshama Carlebach.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's an incredible thing how people connect, isn't it? So beautifully random how we all end up finding each other in the most incredible of ways. And I think that that was such a gift that we ran into each other on that Shabbat, and such a gift to know you now. I'm so proud of you and such an admirer of all that you bring to the world. It's really an honor to be your friend.
Well, we are blessed to have you, and our beginnings in the musical industry really is how we got our name, Rock and Wrap It Up, because I already was doing work feeding people, and I got to meet one of the impresarios in the New York area, Ron Delsner. Ron Delsner goes back, he brought the Beatles to Shea Stadium in 1964, 65.
And a minor accomplishment.
Ron Delsner was very close to a woman. He managed her husband named Harry Chapin. And Sandy Chapin was on the board of directors of Long Island Cares, of which she had asked me to serve on their board, which I did. And one day I met Ron, and Ron said, Syd, I have so much food left over at Jones Beach, and I know that you're involved in feeding people. Can you pick it up? And this was in 1990. And in 1991, Diane and I started picking up, there were 40 shows that summer. We picked up 4,000 pounds of food. And it went to a couple of shelters that we worked with. And we realized that we had an absolute cornucopia for the rest of our lives if we found a way of really harnessing it. And a year later, I came up with contractual obligation, which basically said to bands, if you're traveling and you want your food picked up, put it in your contract rider. And the first band to join us was Nebuch, the Rolling Stones, because Mick Jagger had already thought this up 20 years before I thought it up, but he couldn't find an organization to do it. And then I come around, and the Rolling Stones signed up immediately. And the next band to join us was Aerosmith. And we had the biggest band in the world in the Rolling Stones, and the biggest band in America, Aerosmith. And the rest really fell into place, because as bands would hear about what we were trying to do was feeding people with outstanding backstage leftover food, we showed them a simple way. And then it was just a matter of getting some publicity, which I was able to get. And I had hundreds and hundreds of faith-based people, mainly Christian churches, that were running pantry, shelters, kitchens, that absolutely went backstage, picked up the food, and left. They weren't there to see the show. We were very elegant in how we set it up, but it was the music industry that inspired us to really see how much waste there could be in the world. And, we always believe in Tikkun Olam, trying to heal the world. And what better way to heal the world than through feeding them? And that's where Neshama's heart is.
It's true. And I think that just how you talk about there was, all these thousands and thousands of pounds of waste that was literally just going away when people are starving. I feel like that's kind of how it is a little bit with love in the world. There's so much that we can give that's it's already out there. We just don't even realize, we don't have the organization to come and pick it up, internally or externally. And what a miracle it is that people like you, Mick Jagger, Bono, I know that there are so many people in the world who are so aware of their privilege, of their gifts, and they just want to give it out. And oh my God, it's such an inspiration to me. I hope that everyone watching this, hears, because even if you're not going backstage to a Rolling Stone gig and getting, their sandwiches, there's so much that each of us can do to give back, to not waste the gifts that we have, and to help others.
Well, one of the things, go ahead, Malcolm.
I was talking about where you said you sort of, you meet these people almost by luck. To me, that's what life is about. We go on our path and opportunities arise when you meet people. Certain people take advantage of the opportunities and work with that. Other people just, sit back and do nothing. But I think all of us on our path through life meet people that we can do something with if we just open our eyes and do it. And you guys are an example of that.
Well, this is an interesting week for me personally. 40 years ago, this past Monday, my father and I were in Israel at the first World Gathering of Jewish Holocaust survivors. And I really went to accompany him because my mom didn't have the soul to go back and revisit this. So she asked me to accompany him. And I had 3 very young children. So my wife accepted my mother's to live with them for the 2 weeks, so it would make it easy for my wife. And I went with my dad without any expectations. I was there to celebrate his life and to celebrate the 10,000 other Holocaust survivors that came to Jerusalem for this event. And he had a sister in Israel, she joined us. He had 2 brothers in America, they joined us. So here was a nuclear family that had lost everything. Their parents were murdered, as were brothers of theirs. And here I am with him. And on June 6th, D-Day actually, 1981, he and I had an epiphany at the Western Wall. And for 5 minutes, we just had something pass between us. And when we came out of it, I said, "Dad, did you feel that?" He said, "Syd, completely." And I said, "I feel like I have to go back to America and change the world." And it was that spark that really I live today, every day in these 40 years, that give me, when I wake up in the morning, it's Shloima, you're not doing enough. That's how my brain reads. And I feel like I have to answer the call. And it was that moment that changed me. And the antithesis of that, and I'll show you a tattoo which reads June 8th, and I have it behind me for a reason, 1942. That was the day that my family was murdered in Stockowa, Poland, and a selection took place. And my mother's sister, my mother's father, my mother's brother were selected to go to the left. And my mother, her 2 younger brothers, one was the same size as her, and their mother went to the right. And my aunt read the situation and saw who was going to the left, who was going to the right, and she dragged my mother with her. And her older brother, who was 13, but the same size as my mother, didn't, and she tried to take him, and he didn't want to leave his brother and his mother. And he said, "No, I'm going to stay with them." And by nightfall, they were murdered, they were gassed, they were cremated, they didn't exist anymore. Where my family, because of my aunt's sechel, was able to take my mom, and my mom was only 15, but she was a small 15. And she survived the war because of her sister. And we're all here because of that miracle that took place. And, there are reasons why things happen. And that I had this epiphany 2 days before. And we from the time that I'm 5, I remember on June 8th, that weekend on Shabbos, we would have what's called a haskora, or a memorial service in Canarsie, where I live. All of our relatives would come to a shul, and one of the rabbis from their town survived. There's a very famous name in rabbinical circles called the Halberstam's. And my grandfather was the Gabba in the shul for one of the Halberstam rabbis. And that one of the Halberstams would come and do the Haskura, this memorial for that town. 3,000 Jews were killed that day. 200 survived the selection, and maybe 50 survived the war. So I feel a specialness that I can't describe. I feel that I have to live for those 3,000, and over 100 of them were Mandelbaums or Barbers or Hochbaums, which were the family names in that town. And all of them, could have had fabulous, productive lives, and the things that they could have done, how life could have been better if all of these people had survived, and yet they were taken from us.
Yeah.
And I, because of my background, and you've done enough interviews that Malcolm, I have a love of America. Uh, they took my family in. No other country would take in any of the survivors. And I will tell you that when my parents came here in 1950, I was born here by a couple of months. They had to sign a paper that they would not accept unemployment, medical benefits, any benefit at all from the US. They had to be supported by their families.
Yeah, didn't they have to have a sponsor to sing?
Yes, they had a sponsor. My mother's brother preceded her here, as did my father's brother. And they had to sign papers that my parents, would not be a burden on the United States.
Right.
But America took them. And when I felt that I could give back, first I enlisted in the Air Force when I was 19. But I felt when I came back from Israel in 81, that one of the ways that I could help this country was to feed its hungry. And I was brought up, knowing my mother would kibitz us, and, when we wouldn't have food, people would hear, oh, people are starving in Europe. My mother would say, you would never survive concentration camp if you don't eat that. And that put, my sisters and I, didn't know, that had affected us in those ways. So when I got older, I felt if I could do something small, like, organizing ways of feeding people, that would be the best way to honor their survival and honor the United States for taking them in.
Yeah.
And I want to segue a little bit to the background that Neshama was brought up in, because she learned her love from her father and his family. And I believe that she is the human being that she is because she saw love at an age that people don't see it. Neshama.
Well, that's lovely. I learned, I must say, from my mother and my mother's family as well.
Yeah.
I think all of us, it's amazing what you said, that you had this moment of epiphany. I'm really just reflecting on the gorgeousness of what you described, that you're with your father, you're in a holy spot, and then suddenly this beautiful thing comes over you.
Yeah.
And I think we all have moments like that in our lives, but are we brave enough? Do we have the courage, to hear it and to hear the call? Because all of us, some people do, everything like you do, and some people do just a few things, but we are all here for a reason. Not everyone can feed the entire world like you do. You have superhuman strength, but there are people who take care of others. There are people who love the world. There are people who really save lives quietly, but they have to be in that space where they can hear that that's their job. There is a really beautiful little word of Torah that my father used to say from Reb Nachman, that when you hear someone crying, it's because you are chosen to dry their tears.
It's beautiful.
It's not that not everyone in the world, thank you, hears the same cry. But your ears and your heart have to be open. And I think, Malcolm, that's what you were saying. Like, when people meet each other, are you open to being impacted? Are you open to seeing possibility? Are you open to opportunity for your own heart when you meet people? And a lot of people are frightened, and they have a lot of mistrust, or they're self-conscious. And I think it's a really huge, amazing, just the fact that you exist, as you said, and the fact that you're doing all of these things. What a gift you are, that you're able to share with all of us that you've heard the call.
Well, a long time ago, when after I graduated college, and it was in New York, I went to CCNY. It was sort of almost taken for granted that after you graduate college and you were making money, you went to therapy. Why? Because psychotherapy was, for me, continuing education. You learn more about
Oh,
yourself, you're
yeah.
able to accomplish.
I
And the
love that.
best, yeah, and the I got the most out of group therapy, because I sort of learned that to really feel good about yourself is helping others. And it was like a one-on-one basis. It wasn't like Syd feeding the poor or going out and making the world better. There was a guy next to me who needed help, and I was able to help, and he felt the connection. And when he felt the connection, it made me feel so fulfilled.
That's beautiful. I love that. Good for you for
But you know
therapy.
what,
Therapy's the
Neshama,
best.
you do it with your voice. You do it with your love, and you do it with a personality that comes through each time you sing.
Mm.
So what you do for people is what I do. I feed their stomachs, but you feed their ears, their souls, and their hearts. And that is not understated.
Yeah, Neshama, what do you get? What do you do professionally? You're talking about singing.
Yeah, I sing professionally.
Yeah,
Nice to meet you. I know. I mean, it's a funny thing though to say that I do it professionally now that we're living through the pandemic and
Right.
all of us are sitting in our homes. So this little light patch that you see behind you has been my backdrop. You know, colors differ depending on my mood, but I've done over 345 Zoom events this
wow.
year from my home. So I think I used to be a professional singer. I used to do that. I feel very much like the entire world has shifted. The whole paradigm of life has shifted, and I don't know what's next for me. It's a funny thing to say out loud. And thanks for saying that you think I nourish people. I pray that I can. It's not.
Nope.
It's my prayer that I can give back. Um,
But
and you know,
music,
sometimes I do. Do what?
music sort of goes right into the depth of your soul. I mean, there's certain singers that I know when I hear their voices, it's sort of transcending. It's not their words, but it's almost the sound of what they say. And of course, the words mean something also, but it's a sound filtered through the entire body.
Yes.
It's amazing how it sets a mood, and especially like I know I was in the radio. I've been in the radio for many years, and there's certain songs that send you back to a certain period. I mean, you'll hear a song and it'll just go back. For me, just I'll hear Neil Diamond sing "My Yiddish Mama," and all of a sudden I'm thrown back to my mother and going back to from Coney Island, in the apartment in Coney Island, and almost brings tears to my eyes. And actually, he has a whole album of Yiddish songs. And I
Amazing.
sometimes when I'm during the Jewish holidays, especially since both of my parents are gone and I live in California, no relatives, I play his a Yiddish album. And these songs, I can picture my family sitting around a table singing it together. And I don't speak Yiddish because my parents spoke Yiddish when they didn't want me to understand.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
That's why I never learned Yiddish.
Oh. So you know
Don't
the
worry.
feeling.
I do. I do. I never understand
Ich
Yiddish.
can verstehe Sa.
See,
I know words. I can understand what somebody's saying.
that's so
I'm
funny. Parents need to like they need their little
Right,
secret
right.
language.
uh,
Well, it's funny now. My wife is from El Salvador, and we've been married just to be 27 years. And I mean, I have a bad ear, so I never picked up the language. So I have two sons, 26 and 24. And I know they've told their mother that when they don't want, they'll say, speak Spanish, so daddy won't understand.
God, it's hilarious.
I had that this morning. I'm very old school. I listened as a kid to the Grateful Dead as much as I listened to Perry Como and Frank Sinatra and the Barry Sisters. That's what played in our house. And my father loved Bob Dylan. So we had such a different group of songs. This morning I had on the Sinatra station, and I hear one of the songs that I loved, Lady is a Tramp. It's been sung by a million people, but I'm driving. I had just done a food pickup, and it's a great rendition on the Sinatra. And I take a look down. It was Queen Latifah singing "Lady and the Tramp."
Oh,
And
she's
oh
awesome.
my God, she was fabulous. And
She
I've
is
heard a lot.
fabulous. She really is. She's one of the people that I actually really admire.
She has done it all, and just has the neshama for us. But
By the way, Neshama, before we run out of time, we were proud. You were. I wanted to sing one of your songs.
Oh, I'm so enjoying our conversation.
I know.
Go
Well, you can come back again. There's or we can extend the show if you'd like. But I didn't know whether you wanted to
well,
introduce it or just
I
talk.
think the song is a great song because it's a generational song. This was a song that you expressed your sorrow and love at the same time. So
yeah. I'm honored to share if you'd
yeah,
like.
well, I love that because I'm always talking.
Me too. Oh my God. So it's an honor to be here and to have this is really meaningful. So when we spoke about the love of generations and how it is that we connect, we were talking about the ways in which I connect with my father who passed away 27 years ago. He was also a survivor. And when he left the world, he died very suddenly on an airplane. And I was just 20 years old. He was my best friend. He really was. In a lot of ways, he still is. In this new, strange, like kind of in the way that we feel close to each other, that's the way I feel close to my father always, that he's somehow effervescently present in every breath that I take in this world, in my children who he never met. He's just, he's with me. And when he first passed away, I was bereft. And he would always, when he would walk in the world, and he met a lot of people, would always say, "Bless me and I'll bless you back." Because he believed, and I believe as well, that when you wish someone well, the gates of heaven are open. And all we need sometimes is well wishes. All we need sometimes is just a little bit of love, just to crack open whatever is holding us back from each other and ourselves. So this was about, I wrote, "Before you go, please bless my soul." So you guys have to mute, which is an unfortunate thing of Zoom. Because if not, it gets like wonky. I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to mute.
I'm waiting to to sing with people live so that I don't have to tell them to mute. It's so uncomfortable, right? We all have to we have to sing louder. So this is "Before You Go." You can hear that okay? Late at night, the dark is brighter than the silent moon. The empty hole that is my soul only grows. Every day I cry and pray for peace and bliss within. And I long so much for the time way back when your smile was all it took to set my spirit free. I saw the heavens in your eyes, bittersweet inside of me. Before you go, please bless my soul. So many unanswered questions in my heart. I was whole, now I'm ripped apart. You were the one who helped me know myself, and I long so much for the time when your smile was all it took to set my spirit free. sweet inside of me. Before you go, please bless my soul. No regrets, no turning back this time. At least once I held you. I wouldn't trade all my broken tears for a life without your eyes. Before you go, I bless your soul. Your smile is all it took to set my spirit free. I saw the heavens in your eyes, bittersweet inside of me. Before you go, please bless my soul. Before you go, I bless your soul. I bless your soul.
That was pure. That was beautiful. This is the original song that you did.
Yeah, I wrote it with David Morgan and Noah Solomon.
Fantastic. But
David Morgan was playing that track actually. That's what I do now. I used to have a band, now I have this.
have you scheduled any concerts? Down the line, latter part of the year. Now, hopefully, we're out of the pandemic.
Amen. I'm really praying that that's true. I'm just now starting. I'm still doing a lot of Zoom, which I'm really grateful for, because on the days that I don't Zoom, I'm very sad actually. But I'm starting to book starting in September, and I've done a couple of small things here. I'm actually singing at a wedding on Sunday outside, like 20 people, and I'm really, really looking forward to just being in celebration with people again. I feel
Yeah.
like it's been such a time of shift. Beautiful.
Well, you're in Los Angeles. Yeah. If you get to Los Angeles, let me know. I really would love to go to a concert or a show that you do.
Thank you. I appreciate it. My main work is I have an incredible band that I've been playing with for a long time, and I work with a gospel choir.
A
That
gospel
I'm the
choir?
daughter. I do. That I'm the daughter of a rabbi,
Right.
and my soul brother from another mother is Pastor Milton Van, who leads the choir, and both of us come from our places of faith, but that together somehow we have harmony. And we always pray that this is a snapshot of what the world could be. I don't want to change who I am. I don't want you to change who you are. But we are so perfect when we can find harmony together. So that's our work, and really nice to share with you guys today.
Oh, by what is there a website or something that we could go on, or do you have albums? How can people get in contact with you?
I do. I just released my 10th recording. It's called Believe. And actually, during the pandemic, we won. We were nominated 4 times, and we won an Independent Music Award for the record, for the cover track, for the I can't even talk, for the title track Believe, which was such a gift. And yes, my full long name, it's on my little Zoom box, but neshamacarlebach.com, and love to hear from anyone out there. You want to say hi?
Fantastic.
They could also reach out to me, and I could have them get in touch with her as well.
Fantastic. Guys, believe it or not, we're out of time.
I believe it.
Yeah. But it was
time runs from us all.
But it was
this was such a special conversation. Thank you for having me, and thank you, Syd, especially for sharing such depth from your
Yeah.
life. We're really grateful for you.
As I told you, this will be on later today on malcolmpresents.com. And I have several shows on. This show is Syd and Malcolm. We'll send you the email addresses. Anyway,
Perfect.
thanks, guys. Be
Thank you.
careful. Do good. You do great work.
Thank
We'll
you.
speak later. We'll have you back on, definitely.
Anytime.
This is
Much
only the
love.
beginning.
Amen.
Thank
Love you
you.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.